Demonstration of the Thermotron SM 3.5S temperature humidity test chamber. It has a digital programmable controller, a temperature range of between minus 18 degrees C to 110 degrees C, a humidity range between 20 to 98%. It also is equipped with a 2-inch port on the left side for cable feed-throughs. The inside diameter of the chamber is 16.5 inches long by 18 inches wide by 20 inches high. This particular benchtop model is powered by 120 volts AC single phase. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test temperature. I've removed the humidity probes. We will be testing humidity probes a little bit later. And I have our external one, which is calibrated. And I also have a handheld one as well. This way we can have a comparison of 3 different measurements. According to specification, this model has a temperature range of between minus 18 to plus 110 as mentioned, and a humidity range of between 20 to 98%. First thing we're going to test is the cooling rate change, or the cooling rate change. We will go from plus 25 down to minus 18, and we have to do that in 60 minutes or less. Now, what I'm going to do also over here is this is a Datalogger, so we not only can display the temperatures, but we can also keep a record. So we'll start this up now. There we go. Okay, it says 27. This one says 25.6, and this one says 24.8. They're all within a pretty close range. So what we'll now do is we're on channel 1, which is for heating or cooling. We'll now change the set point by pushing edit. You can simply hit clear, and we'll put in minus 18. Hit enter, and as of right now it's on its way down. So we'll come back in a little while and see how we do. Okay. It's now been 42 minutes that's lapsed. Again, we don't have this connected. We have this one. It's almost minus 17. This is almost minus 16. And our display is minus 18.3. And again, that was in 43 minutes. And once again, according to our specification, it has to do it in 60 minutes or less. So that is well within specification. The next one that we're going to do is we're going to go from room temperature, or plus 25 degrees, up to 110 degrees C, and again, in 60 minutes or less. Again, we are just going to use our 1 temperature probe for now, and we will change our set point to 25 degrees. And we'll come back very shortly and see how we do. Okay, our temperature is back up to plus 25, which is our set point. Here we're 24 and a half, and over here we are 27. Now I will change the set point to 110, which is the specified maximum temperature, and we'll come back in a little bit and see how it's doing. Now, and as we can see, the display has reached 110 degrees C. Our onboard guy here, our little probe we stuck in the side here, is 107, and our data logger is 112. And all of that, we started exactly 1 hour, right on the button. So it was able to go from ambient temperature, 25 degrees, up to its maximum temperature in 35 minutes. Once again, the spec says 60 minutes, so that is excellent. That's way above spec. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the set point back to 25, which is what we like to use for room temperature. And we're going to let the whole chamber settle down, and our next series of tests will be both temperature and humidity at the same time. So once the chamber has stabilized, we'll come back and do that second set. While we're waiting for the chamber to stabilize and settle down in temperature and humidity, I thought we'd take a look at the results from our temperature test. We ran for 1 hour and 58 minutes. This would be the entire data, going down in temperature, coming up, going back down again. And we can also take a look at any point in time and see where our temperature is. If we use one of these cursors here, this is when we started at 27 degrees, and then we went down to about minus 15. Well, I think we hit 16 here, and that was in 42 minutes. We then came back up to our ambient temperature, and then this was our peak at 112 degrees, if I remember, and then I brought it back down to room temperature, and at this point right here I opened the door and cooled it down. So this plot gives you a very, very accurate recall of where your temperature was versus a certain point in time. Now we'll continue to wait for the chamber to stabilize, and we'll move on to our humidity tests. Now I'm going to continue with our testing. The chamber has been left open all night. It is presently at room temperature and room humidity. What we're going to continue with today is we're going to move on to our humidity tests. We use the recommended humidity tests by Thermotron. I've made an enlargement here. What we typically do is we'll set the temperature for 50, the humidity for 50%. And we go down this small little table here, so that allows us to go on the fringes of the range, here, 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 and up here, to test the humidity and see how fast its response is as well. So what I'm going to do this morning is, one, I have two humidity probes in here. We still have our temperature probe in place. I like to point them down a little bit, so in case we have any heavy humidity that will fall and put solid drops on there, that might skew your reading. So it's a good place for them to be. So those are the two that we'll be using this morning, of course, along with its own built-in one as well. So we'll have the 3 readings to compare. Now, just like yesterday, when we did our tests on our temperature, I'm going to use the same configuration, but this time what I will do is I will add humidity, and I will add humidity to our chart right here. Okay, now we'll start recording in just a moment. Back to our controller on our chamber. First we have channel 1, which is temperature. We will set the set point for 50 degrees C. And then we will set the set point for humidity at 50 degrees, oops, hold on, at 50 degrees C. Now, before we start our system, one important thing around the back is that this is where you would normally put your supply of water. It's important to remember that when humidity is not being used, or for example, if you were to set the humidity set point at 0, it will automatically open the drain valves. So what would happen is any water that you had in the system would drain out through here. Also, there is a vent as well. But as long as you have channel 2 on, which controls humidity, this will not drain. Again, you can use your house supply of water if it is meets the standards of the recommendation of the manufacturer, or you can put your own bottle up top here. This is our bottle that we're using for the demonstration. We now have this valve open. I'm going to go back over here and start our recording. Okay, very good. And we will now start our chamber. And let's switch back to this one real quick. And our temperature's already rising. And we'll come back in a little bit and see how we do. It's been about a little over a half an hour now. It takes a little bit longer for humidity to stabilize, so I give at least a half hour to 45 minutes in between each set point that I change. Our temperature reading is 50. Our humidity reading is virtually 50. Over here we have 52 for humidity and just about 50, 49.3 for temperature. And over here we have just about 50 for humidity and 52 for temperature. That is very good. So now we're going to move on to our next set, which would be temperature of 20 and humidity of 80. Once again, we will change our set points. The humidity will be 80 this time, and the temperature will be set to 20. Okay, and we'll come back in a little while and see how we do. We're back. Previously we had reset the temperature set point for 20 degrees and the humidity set point for 80. These are our results. We are at 20 degrees and 80, 81. Over here we are 82 and 21 degrees. And here we are 23 and 88. Now, our next one is temperature is 80 and humidity is 80. So we can leave our set point, I believe, at 80, and for temperature we will change that to 80. Okay, and we'll come back and see how that does in a little bit. Previously we had set our temperature at 80 and our humidity set point at 80%. Our display reads about 77 on the humidity, 80 on the temperature. Over here, our second measurement is 81 on humidity and 79 on temperature. And here we have 83 on temperature and 79 on humidity. That's not so bad. For our fourth and final humidity test, we are going to switch now and keep the temperature at 80 and lower the humidity way down to 20%. So our set point is still 80, and here we will change this set point to 20%. And once again, we'll come back in a little bit and see how it's doing. Humidity. Previously, we had set the humidity for 20 and the temperature for 80. After about 50 minutes, we have 80 on the temperature and 19.1 on the humidity. That's pretty good. Over here we have almost 78 on the temperature and almost 20 on the humidity. And over here, this always runs a couple degrees higher because it may be the position of the sensor. We have 82 degrees and 17 degrees on humidity, which is pretty good. You can always stop by just hitting stop. Nice and dry in there. And that was the last of our tests. This pretty much completes this demonstration on the Thermotron SM 3.5S.